Your dog walks should look exactly like this. Taking your dog for a walk should be the joy of your day rather than the chore of your day. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how you can have perfect loose lead walking with your dogs as well. So when we want to start working on beautiful heel walking, beautiful loose lead walking, you have to start by asking yourself the question of, does your dog know what it is that you actually do want? You can't be frustrated with your dog if they don't know what it is that you want from them. Once we've taught them what it is that we want from them, if they're then making the choice to go and do something else, well, now we can start interrupting those bad decisions. But first and foremost, we have to have the ability to communicate, hey buddy, this is what I want you to do. And we do that by just teaching some very basic heel work. The first thing you need to make sure you do is your dog have a marker word. Some people use a clicker for this. I like to use just the word yes. And it just communicates to my dog that you've done something good and a reward is about to come. Once you've done that, you then need to be able to have your dog follow a law. Once they'll follow a law, you can start using that to shape behaviors. When you've done that, you can then start to shape it into a heel position. When we can start adding some steps, then we can start adding some turns into the equation. Then we can start adding a term to that. So I could say, Reggie, heel. Yes. Break. And rep that out again. Heel. Yes. And he now starts to understand exactly what it is that I mean when I say the word heel. The word heel means be on this left-hand side, by my side, and everything's going to be okay. That's the fundamental step. Once we've got that in place, it does not mean that your dog will do it in real life. And that's where a lot of people go wrong. They teach the food-based work first, but what happens when you go out into the real world and there's something more interesting to your dog than you are with a piece of food? Well, then all this goes out the window. And at that point, you have to have the ability to say, hey buddy, no, I don't care what's going on. I've asked you to heel and you need to heel. So before we carry on with the video, guys, we have to take a minute and talk about the equipment question. It's something that I get asked all the time. Will, what type of leads do you use? What type of collars do you use? And the answer is it depends. There is no one size fits all, but what I tend to find is that the type of tool that you're going to need is going to depend on how sensitive your dog is to what we refer to in the more professional capacity of lead pressure or leash pressure. And that's why there isn't a one size fits all for all dogs. On top of that, depending on your lead handling skills will mean that you'll need lesser tools if you have more skills. So what I might be able to achieve with nothing more than a flat collar, somebody that doesn't have the skill or experience that I do might need a higher up the hierarchy tool. Now, to give you a bit of a rough overview, where I start with working with dogs, whether they're in my sanctuary dogs or whether they're behaviour cases in my behaviour clinic, is that I usually will have the dog on a martingale collar always, and there's a potential for safety backup. We attach their GPS collars to that, and many dogs need nothing more than just the martingale collar for all of their training purposes as well. However, I find that the vast majority of cases I work with, probably 98% of cases, I will utilize then a slip lead or slip collar and lead combination. Which one should you choose? They're kind of the same thing. You know, I've tried absolutely every tool in the market. I don't like the head halty collars. I don't like how it twists the dog's neck. I think it's way more dangerous than even some of the more advanced tools. And I don't ever like tools where the dog is correcting itself. So the dog is pulling and the lead is making it twist its neck and it stops pulling through that. I always want to facilitate communication between the dog, and for me that's what tools are. It's not the tool doing the work, it's me communicating something to the dog, and I'm simply choosing the right tool that allows that communication to take place in the best way possible. So I'll start with a martingale collar. If not, I'll utilize, and for the vast majority of dogs I work with, a slip collar and lead or a slip lead. If that doesn't work, there are some more advanced tools that you can utilize, things like a prong collar, for example. In my experience though, those kinds of tools should be taught in person with a experienced professional with those tools, once that professional has identified and outlined that its other tools aren't suitable. Many people come to me thinking that they might need a more advanced tool, but actually they just need to learn to use a slip lead the right way. So there isn't a certain tool for the job. The thing I want you to take away from this though, guys, is that it's not the tool that fixes the pulling. It's you communicating to your dog the behavior that you do want from them and that you don't want from them. And what you need to do is find the right tool that allows you to communicate that effectively. So let's look at one of the most important tips if you want to have a dog be able to walk beautifully by your side on a loose lead. And you have to build engagement with your dog. And what I mean by that is that you want to build a relationship with your dog where they look up to you for guidance and direction. Now, the amazing thing with a dog that looks up to you for guidance and direction whilst you're out on a walk is that for them to be able to look up to you for guidance and direction, exactly like my mate Reggie's doing right now, the beautiful thing is that they can't be out in front of you. For them to be able to see you, to be able to follow you, they have to be by your side or just a little bit behind. So we can kind of hack that system a little bit, because engagement builds a wonderful relationship, which makes communicating with your dog way easier, which means telling them what you do want and what you don't want becomes dead easy, which is essentially dog training. Please do this, please don't do that. That is the essence of being able to train a dog successfully. So engagement like this is a really important piece of that puzzle. So we want to teach it anyway. And the way that I teach it is called my tune-up drill. Now, this is my mate Reggie here. Reggie's here with me as part of my sanctuary project. He's been stuck in a rescue centre for, I think, nearly 4 years now. Nobody's wanted him just because of the type of breed he is. He pulls quite badly on a lead when he first came to me. He had a couple of other behaviour problems that we've been working through, but we're getting him to a point where already he is a perfect canine companion and will make his future owners really, really happy. But one of the ways in which we've done that is by building engagement. And the way that I build engagement with my mate Reggie here is through the tune-up drill. Now, if you look at how bad he was when he first came to us, in terms of not just how bad his pulling was, but that I had absolutely zero engagement with him, and then compare that to what we have now, where he's calm, he's relaxed, he's checking in with me, and if I set out on a walk, he's going by my side, he's nice and relaxed. If we turn this way, he's kind of following me this way. If I turn inside, he's aware of me and he's following me. And the reason that I'm not bumping into him as I make these sharp turns is because he's engaged with me, looking up to me for guidance and direction, and can see me. The reason that he can do that is because of the tune-up drill. And what I just did there was a very quick explanation or a quick demonstration of the tune-up drill. I combine inside turns, outside turns, different variations of pacing. We utilize little bits of lead pressure, utilizing the right piece of equipment, which for him right now is just a martingale collar. We've used some slip collar work with him just to help him understand the communication of lead pressure and understand that he has to stay by my side to be able to look up to me. And it results in this: a dog that is engaged in me, is following my guidance and direction, and isn't now out in front of me, dragging me everywhere that we go, which means he's now a pleasure to take for a walk anywhere. It keeps him in a much lower arousal state where he is relaxed, calm, a pleasure to be around, which means I want to take him to more places, which means he gets more exposure, which means he gets more exercise, which means he becomes a better canine companion more and more and more. And that all builds off engagement. And if you need engagement, you need the tune-up drill, because the tune-up drill tunes up engagement. Now guys, if you want to learn more about how I go about taking dogs from pulling really badly through to beautiful loose lead walking just like this, then you should check out my pulling masterclass course. The great thing is that course is included in my Perfect Canine Companion bundle, and there's a huge discount on that to thank you guys for supporting me here on this channel. And what's even better is those of you that know I work with sanctuary dogs, helping keep dogs out of rescues and out of the euthanasia table, then all of the profits from the courses go to supporting that project. So again, if you're interested in learning more, there'll be a link in the description box below. You can go and check that out and grab that special discount that will be waiting for you. But let's get back to the next tip. So now comes the time where we start to merge these things together. We've taught what we want by heel, and now we've built engagement. We've built focus and relationship and the ability to communicate with little bits of pressure on our lead, just to say, hey buddy, no, remember, you've got to pay attention to me. We can start to put those things together. And to do that, I call it my magic green circle game. And what I want you to imagine is that attached to my left ankle, there's a nice big circle. And it's a green circle whenever my mate Reggie's inside it. And when he stays inside that circle, he gets paid and he gets treats. However, if he goes outside of the circle, a little bit of lead pressure is just going to let him know, hey buddy, you've gone out the circle, come back. And if he goes out the circle that way, the lead pressure will tap, tap this way. If he forges ahead, it will tap, tap back this way. If he's lurking behind, it will tap, tap this way. And I'm helping him remember, you've got to stay in this circle. Now you have to remember that it's a tap on the lead. It's a pop, it's not pull. If he goes out of that way, I'm not tug of warring him back in. I'm just saying, hey buddy, you're not paying attention. Hey, remember, you've got to come back into that green circle. And the longer you stay in that green circle, the more rewards you're going to get. But if you drift out of that circle, I'm going to have to remind you, hey, you're not paying attention, stay in the circle. And what dogs will start to do really quickly, if you do this right, is understand, oh, I've got to stay in that circle. And when I stay in that circle, really good things happen. So I'll just stay in that circle anyway. And what that starts to look like is like this. So if I'm doing my tune-up drill and Reggie stays in the circle, as he stays in that circle, so he fell out of the circle there and he got his little tap. Nope, you've gone the wrong way. And that time, you see how fast he's in tune with me now, staying in the circle, because he had that repetition of going out of the circle. And now look at the speed that I'm getting from him now of wanting to stay inside the circle. Look at the focus that I'm getting. Look at the engagement that I'm getting. And this is one of my own personal dogs. And you see that even he had a little slight lapse of judgment, which is completely normal. He's still a baby, not even a year old at this point, and we're just feathering these things in now and holding him to higher standards and higher expectations. But with nothing more than just a little tap, just to remind him, hey, you've forgot yourself, remember, this is what we do. And it's through those repetitions that build this level of focus. And then as time goes on, I start to expect a little bit longer from him in terms of how long he has to last before he gets paid. And that's just an evolution of the game. So then once we've got through that whole process, we can move into what I call the 3 Ds of dog training. We have to work on our distance, our duration, and our distraction. So starting with distance, obviously you want to be able to build up from going for a few steps and then having to reward and doing things like the magic green circle game, to being able to go for an entire 1 hour walk like this and not really have to acknowledge your dog's wants. After distance, we can look at duration, same kind of principle. How often do we need to reward? How often do we need to remind our dogs to come back in to make sure that they're paying attention? It might start with 10 steps and then 20 steps and then 50 steps. And again, we build that up. And then last but not least, we have to work on the distraction level. Now, for some dogs, coming out into the beautiful countryside is really distracting. There's all the smells of the different animals and wildlife and tractors and things going on that can be very distracting for dogs. It's all my dogs have ever known, so they're quite desensitized to it. If I was to take them to a city, it would be more distracting. So I would have to drop my distance and my duration expectation for them whilst we're working on leveling up that distraction. But we just start to make progress in all 3 of those areas over time, and you'll be able to end up with a dog that just walks beautifully on a loose lead no matter where you are. So thank you so much for watching this video, guys. If you are new, make sure you subscribe. Remember, if you want to learn more, that's what the link in the description box below is for. I can't wait to see you, though, on the next video.